Could you walk us through sort of the steps from saying, right, we have this artwork, we have this physical artwork, we have this, what would be the steps to then take that to creating an NFT? How do you decide which platform? What are the technical components? And we can get together a whole bunch of resources as well to share out with everyone here, so they can do some self-learning as well. And then I would be really interested in what types of NFTs that there are. So it's not just a static drawing. There are so many other components to it. So do you want to start with that for us, please, Guillaume, and then we'll see what questions we have on that.
Things that I would like to still figure out and know is, for example, what additions should we be looking for? Things like percentage of payment that might the person generating that want to receive. So things like this, and that's also what I was hoping that
the economics of it.
Thank you.
So I'll just share my screen to give some context, some understanding of like the entire process. So basically, before I start explaining the technical workflow or just the workflow part of things, it is important to understand that before we think of any NFT project or think of like setting up our own NFT marketplace or use an existing marketplace, it is very important to kind of understand what is going to be the utility of that NFT going forward, right? Like what is going to be the intrinsic value that that particular NFT can provide for a user. So one of it, of course, for most of the art forms, it is the rarity of the art itself, that this piece of art is quite rare, and the popularity and the brand image created by the artists themselves. That is one. And second is, a lot of NFTs, especially in the Web3 space, are about communities now. Like, can you use that concept and convey some kind of message, right? Have some kind of messaging associated with that concept, which resonates with a particular type of community. So these are a couple of things that would be worthwhile to think about before you think of like, okay, here. So it's not just a piece of art anymore that somebody is holding. It's more about building community, sustenance, and building value out of those NFTs. So yeah, of course, OpenSea is one of the most popular platforms to mint your NFTs. Before we do that, I can just share like the simple process of an NFT is, if you have you can do that with the physical art or the digital art. For a physical art, you have to ensure that you make a digital copy of that art, because everything related to NFTs is digital. Okay, there is no only physical concept anymore. It has to have a digital copy. Now the digital copy of whatever product, process, or whatever service that you want to convert into an NFT, that digital copy has to be stored in a decentralized location. So the first thing that you have to think about is storage, right? You have a piece of digital art, where would you store it? So that's where your storage components like Pinata, Cloud, or any of these decentralized storage providers come into picture. The broader umbrella term for that is IPFS, Interplanetary File Storage System. This is one of the most popular decentralized storage systems. So the first thing you have to think about is, what kind of storage do you want to use, right? Once you have this storage, that means and there are two classes of storage. One storage is where just that piece of art, that NFT, the digital copy of that particular unique rare item that you want to create an NFT out, where is that being stored? That is one. And the second piece associated with that NFT is called metadata. That is data about that particular piece of NFT. This metadata should try to comprehensively describe what this NFT is all about, right? And this metadata should never have information which is changeable. For example, the owner address of the owner who owns that particular NFT, it should never be on the metadata, because that can keep changing as you sell and resell it in a secondary market. So these are the first two things that you encounter when you come across the concept of converting anything, any digital asset into an NFT. So creating an NFT is a very simple process. It is just you have a digital asset. You are creating the footprint of the digital asset on blockchain. That's all you are doing while you're creating an NFT. And the process of creating this footprint on the blockchain is called minting. It is the same terminology for both NFTs, which are non-fungible tokens, and fungible tokens, FTs, the different cryptocurrencies we deal with. The terminology is the same. That is, you mint. You mint a token. That means you create an asset on blockchain. That's what you're doing. For NFTs, of course, the NFTs need to be, the concept of NFTs inherently is that they need to be unique and they need to be rare, right? They need to have some intrinsic value that they can provide eventually to the community or to the holder of that particular NFT. Some of the popular platforms where you can mint this NFT, that is create a digital footprint, OpenSea, Rarible, both of these support. Now again, before I go to the platforms, you also want to understand that what kind of community do you want to kind of, reach out to. And community also differs from platform to platform, that is blockchain to blockchain. There is a huge community for the Ethereum blockchain because it's been around for a really long time. But there are also other different communities, other different platforms that are coming up on various other layer ones. So OpenSea right now supports both Polygon, which is a layer 2, and Ethereum. Rarible supports Ethereum. I don't know if they have Polygon support. There is another app called Mintable app, which supports, and Zilliqa, which is another blockchain. Then there is another product called Mintbase, which is coming up as a popular NFT platform, which is built on top of a protocol called Near Protocol. So based on where you can, so there are different things. One is opportunity, right? Which platform or protocol is giving you more opportunities to sell your NFTs, to build your community? You can mint your NFTs on that platform. For example, Mintbase gives you a lot of you might be able to get some grants, you might be able to get some funding for, working on some projects using Mintbase. So you might want to choose that. Or you might think that, okay, you are able to afford the cost of minting on Ethereum, which is slightly more expensive than other platforms. Then you can go for popular ones like OpenSea. You can build a collection over here and you can mint over here. So if you use any of these inbuilt platforms, you don't have to worry about the storage part, because they will have a decentralized storage associated within the platform itself. So this is one of the very straightforward ways of doing it, low hanging fruit. If you want to get a foot in the door, these are existing platforms that you can build and just move forward with it, right? It's all, minting an NFT is it is very straightforward. It's very UI intuitive. You just need to connect your wallet, like your MetaMask or whatever. And then you kind of, you follow the steps. Oh, oops, sorry. I stopped sharing altogether. MetaMask was asking me to unlock and stuff. So you can just, it's very
just gonna raise my hand slightly again, because I know that the Craig has got actually. Craig, did you want to ask a question? You've got your hand raised.
No, it can be asked at any point. It's absolutely fine. I'm enjoying listening, actually.
Okay, cool. I'm just going to say, for those of you who don't have a MetaMask set up yet, I can share tutorials with you for that. It's pretty, it's pretty simple. So.
Yeah, basically, yeah, as in, if you want to, so a wallet. Okay, for those who are completely new to blockchain, a wallet is something which is like your account. It resembles an account on a blockchain. And a wallet is something that is used to hold all your tokens, both your fungible tokens and your non-fungible tokens. MetaMask is a popular wallet, which you can just download a browser extension of MetaMask. It's like an orange fox, and you just set up an account for yourself. So this is my Ethereum mainnet account. It's a public blockchain, so I don't really mind sharing this with you. I also have an NFT called Etra. It was an art gifted by somebody to me. But yeah, basically you can store all your fungible, non-fungible tokens within this wallet. The moment you install this plugin, it asks you to create a simple account, and this wallet is what symbolizes your identity on that particular chain. So this is how people know you on Ethereum as 0x4b8a, whatever is this hexadecimal address. And you can, so I have a couple of NFTs that I have minted that you can see are there in my wallet. These are some cricket cards that I minted for my husband for his birthday. And then I have, this was a gift by an artist, and I have some of these. So yeah, now I'll tell you about, maybe this might be a little bit more interesting to understand. So this is an NFT that I minted. It's from a project called Crypto. The idea of this project is to build educational comic magazines. That's their long-term goal. And these characters, also known as finnies, are, appear in their magazines. So this is again generated mathematically. So you can see that the properties of the crypto finny, right? Like the feet, this crypto finny has pink boots, it has a gold body, it has Hawaiian shorts, and you can see some properties. What they have done is they have randomly generated these properties using some mathematics behind it. And you can see there were a bunch of crypto finnies. I think there were over 10,000 or so. I own number 342 and another number, right? So this is again like something that you can generate. So I own 341 and 342, and this were randomly minted and generated and dropped to me, right? When I clicked on mint, I got some of these properties which were randomly associated and assigned to my particular NFT. So there are two things that are lucrative about these kind of NFTs. One is the anticipation of what one could possibly get, right? Like I didn't know before I minted that I would be getting something like this or something like anything else. So this is like to create that kind of buzz and anticipation of what you could possibly generate, which could be unique, because every set of combinations would be unique. No two crypto finnies are going to be ever the same. So that is one thing that ensures uniqueness and rarity. And the second thing is, like, this crypto finny itself is a project, right? It is going to have some kind of roadmap. It has some kind of plans associated with it, that they are going to print so many magazines, they are going to do this, they are going to do that. So I, as a user or as an NFT owner, felt like, okay, I think this is a good project. And maybe if I invest early on in this and mint early on, later these NFTs may have more value. So this is the entire, like, this is one way of doing the entire, your NFT, selling your NFT, buying, selling your NFT, creating a marketplace, etc. Now there is another popular way, or another way of doing it if you are actually thinking of doing like a long-term project, right? Like you don't want to just do it for the sake of selling art, but you also have some, like some kind of motivation associated. There is a problem statement, there is something that you are trying to solve. In that case, I would suggest to go for your own marketplace. That is, you build your own marketplace, you write your own rules. You can use existing contracts. There are a lot of existing, that means the code that will make the whole buying selling process happen. A lot of it already exists, and this is one of our projects which is based on that, right? So here we are going to have our own marketplace. That is, these tattoo NFTs, also known as flashcards, right? These are the NFTs that will be sold on our marketplace. And these, for us, this entire project, it's a big project, right? It has some kind of roadmap that we want to engage tattoo artists across the globe. We want to encourage them to come to the digital world, take advantage of getting, international connections, and be able to sell their designs to folks who are interested in this space. This is one. And the second thing that we are doing, which is closely related to the physical piece of the actual art, is that we let people redeem these flashes for actual tattoos. So you can buy an NFT of a flash tattoo, and if it is a redeemable NFT, then you can go and redeem it from the tattoo artist who actually created these designs. So this becomes a way of creating intrinsic value or utility for that particular NFT. So people actually now know that, okay, if I hold this, I have some say into, there are a lot of other things you can do. There is like DAO governance, that is, you get the community to vote on who should be the next artist who should be joining in, what should be the censorship rules for creating these tattoo designs. So you could do a lot of different things, but this is the other way of building your own marketplace. That is, you have an idea and you feel like, okay, this is going to be a long term project, and I have some amount of time and energy that I can invest in this, and I don't want this to just be a one time thing, I want to build a brand from this. Then you go for these kind of marketplaces, right? If you are building any games or something, then of course you will have to build your own contracts. And it doesn't mean that if you build your own marketplace, it doesn't mean that those NFTs can't be resold here as a secondary market. If you follow the standards of the NFT, that is, if you are building on Ethereum, ERC 721 is a popular standard. And if you are building this, if you are building a marketplace based on the same standard, that standard is applicable across all the marketplaces, whether it is built by yourself or built by others. But there are some rules like artist royalty, or how the split will go. Like there'll be some percentage that the platform will take, right? Because you want to make revenue, you also want to sustain. And then you have a royalty aspect wherein you want to give royalty to the actual artist, to the actual creator. These will be certain features which will be specific to your platform, but other things related to the NFT itself, because it is going to be on the same network, it will be cross compatible or interoperable across different marketplaces. So these are like the two things that you could kind of.
So Remember's just got a question about, what have you got a question about? About the ability to move between markets. Did you want to unmute and ask the question, or is that in its entirety?
Yes. So that's, it's very interesting what you're saying, that when having own like bigger project makes sense to have own marketplace. So I was wondering, what do you think? Is it A, possible, B, doable, but you should avoid to, for example, start from one marketplace with, I don't know, like one set of NFTs and then move to own marketplace?
Yes, you can do that as well. I highly recommend that, because that is like easier, and there is also, there is a little bit of bandwidth for you to kind of experiment, because NFTs, it's more like, right now it's more like a hype market, right? Because a lot of NFTs don't have any inherent value associated with them. It is more about the uniqueness, about the community, etc., right? So if you are actually going to have art and you want to mint it on specific marketplaces, you get some amount of time to do something called price discovery. So you are trying to understand, how to sell my piece of art, or how to create this brand. And once you have you have that understanding by selling, minting your initial pieces of art maybe on OpenSea or Rarible, and you can mint the same piece of art in multiple marketplaces as well, but there are some technical tweaks that you may have to make. It is possible though. So you can do some kind of price discovery, engage with the community, try to figure out what is it that they like about this piece of art, or what is it that they don't like about this piece of art, what could make it more unique, what could make it more lucrative, and things like that. So yeah, that I would suggest, like, if you already have existing pieces of art and you are in a position to digitize them, then go for that.
Can I just kind of on what you were saying? From our point of view, we know that the community that will be interested in what we're interested in is basically community, like manga, anime, fan art community. And as you're saying, what is the most important here is basically to build something that is interesting and in some way valuable for the community. So if you could comment, apart from the technical aspects of choosing the platform, the marketplace, and maybe potentially building to own marketplace, if I don't know, if we grow or if we think that is the most sensible. Could you comment on the community aspect? Like, do you see that communities are just happy to follow, or they just like, well, we love manga, but we're not going to move through OpenSea? If you could comment on that.
Yeah, so like I mentioned, for you to actually, and for any of the NFT projects to become long-term sustainable, right? Like manga is something like, it's a long-term sustainable thing. It's not going to go away anytime soon, right? There are a lot of people who read manga and they watch, the the series and stuff. So there is a lot of craze around this. So you would need to tap into that community and, get, so the whole community building is like a totally, like, a project that you have to take up, right? It is something you have to invest your time and resources in, and you have to build. See, because people now, from what I have seen, everybody almost knows everything is going to go virtual, everything is going to go digital, so people are prepared. I don't think there is a resistance to move from like a physical, aspect to a virtual world, or even to embrace the concept of blockchain or NFTs. I don't see a resistance to embrace these concepts. It's just about how well are you communicating with the community, how well are you keeping them engaged, right? So if it is about selling manga based NFTs, then you also have to make sure that you're offering them something else. Maybe have, like, what could be some of, these are just some of the things that come to the top of my mind. Of course there could be more intricacies, I'm not that familiar with the manga community, but some of the things that could be lucrative, right? Have a community to have all the manga lovers unite, right? So you can have some discussions amongst yourself. You can talk about different I don't know, comics or different characters, or you can have some kind of, weekly watch party, right? Like, or a monthly watch party. So community engagement is a huge part of what you are building. So you have to be prepared to, create a community or keep your community engaged. So you have to have some strategies for that. I have seen people build communities from scratch, which are like, some concepts people are not at all familiar with, but the more they engage the community, the more they interact with them, the more they make them understand, like, why this could be important for them, or why this is important going forward, how everything is going to become virtual going forward, what is going to be the impact of being in the Web3 space. I'm sure people would be more than happy to, be a part of the community. But community engagement is a huge task, and that includes everything, right? Yeah, like your weekly engagements, your social media, then your marketing strategies, your operations, the way you are recruiting more community members, the way you're sending out different messages, what are the different things that you're offering to the community. All of these things matter. So yeah, people are definitely up for it, but you have to have that a good plan, a good strategy for community building that would work.
Wonderful, great.
So it was just around, so it's almost reversing before the minting of the NFT. It was just around the AI software that you would use for the randomization. Is that something that you'd have to write yourself, or is there platforms for those things as well?
Yeah, from what I know, there are a couple of platforms. I am not very familiar with that since I haven't worked on it. But most of these, like if there is something unique, especially there are different types of AI that you can use, right? For example, these like this cryptophony that I showed you, it's fairly simple. It's just, just randomization. So it's actually not even AI. It's just like simple code randomization. But if you depends on what your AI problem statement is, if it is something fairly common, you may find platforms for that. But there is another special class of NFTs that is coming up purely using mathematics called generative art. So it is completely based on randomization. Now, in that case, you may have to write your own randomization algorithms to build the kind of generative art that you want to build. So I would say it depends. For most of the easy stuff, you will get some or the other platforms definitely for stuff. And if you want to build your own, then because again, generative art is like a little more, and I don't have that much experience in generative art, but I have seen NFTs that are built on generative art. Each of them is unique because you only get that randomization ever once. So then you want to kind of, maybe you want to write your own randomization algorithms.
Yeah, so I suppose both around digitizing and minting physical assets, but also digital assets. What is the process in confirming that you actually own the original piece, particularly as everybody starts digitizing physical assets? For example, collectibles and things like that. Is there a space for a certificate of authenticity? Is there, how does that?
So as of now, there is nothing that exists on chain for this. The whole idea of Web3 or decentralization is, so they call this as creators economy, right? That is, the creator gets to choose what they want to do with their piece. That's the whole idea of it. What can be recorded on the blockchain is only the fact that who minted this digital asset first, right? That, and who owns, and then, so what you can record on blockchain with respect to NFTs are two things. One is ownership and one is the life cycle. So from the time somebody minted that particular digital asset to the time it was sold, resold, on which platform, how many times, and who finally owns it. This is the only thing that we can track using blockchain. Now, the physical assets part that you're talking about, and plus not just physical, even digital assets like music and all, right? There's a lot of copyright and IP associated with that. Many of the platforms, what they are doing is they are actually signing agreements with the artist that we will mint your music, or we will mint your, physical piece of art or whatever on our platform, and we have an agreement that the platform takes 5% platform fees and rest of it will come to you. So these are the kind of legal agreements that people are getting into. But actually on chain, if you think of the technology perspective and actually, the way marketplaces are functioning right now, there is nothing, no rules, regulations, or anything associated with the IP or the authenticity of that piece. It's all about you as a marketplace, how much you are able to convince your users, your community, that whatever we are doing is super authentic, and this piece of art actually belongs to this artist. You can go and see this, our agreement here. You can go and see more about the artist here, and you can connect with the artist using this particular email address or whatever. So that's how platforms are trying to set their own rules and regulations in terms of IP. But as such, on chain, nothing exists. It's just a free world.
It's going to be really interesting to see as well with celebrity or likeness using someone's image. So even the trading cards that you have that you've minted,
Yeah.
if one day that talent wants to come and collect because you're making money off of his image, it's going to be really interesting.
That's why there are different. So again, I think it works differently with different celebrities, different communities. For example, some of the musicians, right? Some of them have signed off some rights with a record label or something. For a couple of years, they'll have a contract. So if we have to mint their music, we have to have a contract with a record label because they own the rights. Whereas some musicians who are individual musicians, we can have a direct contract with them. Similarly, with sportsmen, if they have signed up with a club, in order to, that club would have given some regulations that this is what you can use of the sportsman and this is what you cannot use. So in terms of the legality, again, it's not like a very clear picture, but to be safe, it is always better to so there are two types of marketplaces. One is where you are purely selling only digital art, right? In that case, you don't have to worry about it because somebody is creating the art itself in a digital format and coming and selling it online, right? So there is probably that person, as long as just to be like, we don't know whether they have any contracts for those particular digital pieces of art or on anything like that. So you're just keeping it open. That means anybody can come on your marketplace, anybody can mint anything, anybody can put it for sale. You are just being a third party facilitating that. That's what OpenSea is doing. That's what Rarible is doing. They don't have any artists or something of their own who they want to promote. Whereas if you want to build your own marketplace where you have a niche art that you want to promote, in that case, it is always better to sign agreements with those artists, as a company, as an organization, that we will be selling it on your behalf and we will be taking X percentage of profit and you will be getting some royalty as well on every resale or every secondary sale that happens on the marketplace. So it's always better to have those kind of agreements in case it is like, niche piece of art that you're trying to sell.
So I was wondering if you can, I don't know, I didn't know, or maybe like point me into direction of where I can read more about the legality ownership right when the NFTs refer to some existing cultural like entities, ideas. In the case of manga fan art, I mean, a lot of people just take the characters and don't worry about that, but obviously that's something to think about. So
yeah. I'm not really sure if I have any references, but for one of our platforms that we are building, we are planning to sell music NFTs, and it's NFT platform for African artists. So that is something where we are signing agreements with those artists. So we have a legal entity who is representing our organization, and we put that up. So most of the platforms, they just put up like a simple, kind of disclaimer that, we have not vetted and verified anything. So if you agree to this, go ahead and, purchase this or sell this or whatever. So that is definitely something generic you can put up. But for something specific, which has like cultural nuances, I think you will have to do some research. Like I know, for example, just related to cricket NFTs in India, right? That BCCI, that is the Board of Cricket organization, they control most of the player related marketing, merchandising and all that. So they have laid out certain rules and regulations on what we can use and what we cannot use. So like that, you might have to find out with respect to, manga, like what is it. And but if it is just some generic content consumed by the community, I think you don't have to worry too much. But if it is controlled by some centralized organization and they have some legalities associated with it, I would say it's better to take a look once.
I think we're well, we love some very like specific manga anime pieces, so we were wondering what and how much we could do when, for example, we start with specific characters. So there are things that are super extremely popular among fan art, anime, manga fans and so on, and things are like, you can watch lots of videos where, for example, people take one character and merge it with a different character, which is obviously starting from actual characters from a film, from a movie, so that is somebody else's creation, but adding layers on top. So, and I know that this is something that is growing, so there's no already existing law, but it would be like, I know that the area that we have to learn more is how to navigate the fact that what is interesting for community is to see things based on the characters they love, but we need to think about also where is the law. And so one thing is things based on specific characters. Okay, well, actually that's sort of the main thing.
Yeah, I mean, some of the recommendations that I have seen, like they work a lot, is of course like word of mouth in different Japanese communities, which you might already be a part of, like manga communities and all that. You can find a bunch of them. Some communities might even be on Discord and stuff. Also, you could do some kind of like discovery, like interest discovery, as we call it in the early phases. Just put up like some polls on Twitter or like LinkedIn, wherever you think your audience might be, right? Like put up some polls and just be like, hey, we are going to release, this particular manga character, limited NFTs. Would you be interested in buying? Like, you can try to gauge a little bit in terms of where the community is leaning towards. And then of course through marketing and more of like community outreach and all that, you will get an understanding of what the community is looking for and what not. And then eventually you kind of create some small Discord server, have people join that Discord server, have them discuss about your NFTs, and they will give more idea. So the more and more like you involve the community, you will get an understanding of how they want things to be shaped. So that will work out well. So you have these options.
Do you know of any cases of NFTs that were built on or somehow strongly referring to existing cultural, like, I don't know, characters, movies, or based on celebrities or some other pictures? So basically things where the legal rights might be an issue, NFTs that were minted, and then somebody started to claim ownership rights and having the, I don't know, a legal battle. Or do you know of any cases like that for me to sort of analyze?
Not that I know of, but I know not legal battles, but I know this, like this K-pop industry is very becoming very popular to go for NFTs. They are starting to have like these, I don't know, these music bands, BTS or something. I'm not very familiar. My sister is a big K-pop fan, so I know some of the terminologies. But yeah, I think this you might be able to relate a little bit with, like, these K-pop are very popular. They have, and they specifically have these contracts that they sign, which are like 5-year contracts, 7-year with those bands. So yeah, you can see like there are rumors where people try to use the band's brand without permission. So now, as people are doing that, because there is the between a digital and like a physical right, there is a little bit of gray area. So you can still use that and kind of do the things you want to do, but eventually if it is something they come and claim, like, or actually they won't even claim. What they will do is they will start getting into this thing by themselves. Like they will, so whatever you are doing, they will copy and they will try to do it. And see, unfortunately, their brand will get more, preference because they are the original people. Like, for example, these K-pop bands and all, all of these characters are very, very popular in different K-pop bands. So people try to mint their, this one as NFTs and all these characters themselves and try to sell it. Of course, other interested fans and all, they bought it. But if they themselves, the K-pop guys themselves get into it and they do it, it will become much, much more popular. So that's the only thing that I have seen happening. But apart from that, like the legalities, again, it's really a bit of gray area. So there isn't any hard or fast rule as to what you can do or what you can't do. If you think there might be some legal issues, I would say always better to consult some law firm and kind of, get an understanding. And then you can, if you have some agreements in place, I think you should be good. You may not face like huge issues.
Thank you. I have lots of other questions, but I think, I imagine some other people might also.
Well, we're also sort of running out of time. So what I would like to do is, first of all, Gyan, thank you so much. You are such a wealth of information and knowledge, and you explain it in a way that I can follow as a non-techie. You're an absolute rock star, and I really appreciate both your time and your insights. And we will catch up again next week for part 2.
Yes, awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you very
Thanks,
much.
Thanks, Gyan.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.